Do you really think that gold is going to give up its gains? Do you think that we've now reached a new plateau? So it was rescued.
It was rescued, yeah.
Can we keep going like this without any actions?
Well,
by
the
the Fed?
banks will survive as long as they keep stealing from their depositors. Yeah, I have a little bit of experience with that.
Like, oh, sir, this could take 4 to 6 weeks. Man, this process is really broken.
What we've done at SD Bullion is we've taken everything under one roof. Transparent pricing, you know exactly what you're getting. All the metal comes into our facility under camera. It never leaves. If you want to sell back, if you want to take a distribution, these processes that would take you 3 to 6 weeks to do at another program, we'll ship that out in 1 to 3 days after you decide you want to do that.
Thank you for joining and taking time out of your busy schedule. I know it's been tough. Gold looks like it's not going to give up this $3,000 an ounce
It was
support.
rescued. Yeah.
So it was rescued.
It was rescued, yeah. The funds, mostly hedge funds, are still exercising their control over the gold market. And, what sets the prices? It's the futures contracts. And so if you look at the futures numbers, they are very coincidentally the same as the spot price.
Do you really think, with all that's going on, that gold is going to give up its gains? Do you think that we've now reached a new plateau?
Well, if I were running a hedge fund, I would be preparing for a big short. And for that to happen, you've got to have a lot of collusion. I probably should say cooperation.
Cooperation, yeah.
Collusion is a different word, but they mean the same thing.
Yep. We had the Fed, Jerome Powell, speak. As expected, he kept rates the same, but he talked about inflation. He talked about tariffs, and he indicated that while they're not going to be fast with rate cuts, they are probably going to get to it. And Trump, he wants cuts now, and he was really upset, just like he was in his first term.
He has the microphone when it comes to anything monetary policy or whatever. And he has made tariffs the reason that we don't have inflation under control and why we're not making any progress toward controlling inflation. I don't know how the mathematics of that work out. That may be a problem for a temporary problem for Canada or China, but there's no connection between tariffs and inflation. Inflation, and we haven't gotten out of last year's budget bill.
Inflation's a monetary phenomenon, right?
It is.
Always.
Yeah, it has nothing
It
to
is
do with
printing
tariffs.
Yes, it is. It is money creation or currency creation. So tariffs, he loves that, and I'm not sold that tariffs are the way to go.
It's nothing but a negotiating point.
That I'm fine with.
Well, that's all it is. Canada has something like 30 tariffs against U.S. goods, and we have like 4 against their goods. And, not including what's happening now, but that's going to be negotiated. And, they need a permanent premier, what do you want to call the guy? Prime minister? They need somebody permanent that can sit down and negotiate this.
Last video you dropped, you spoke really harshly about Canada. You said exporting, what is it?
Wind, water, and hockey players.
Wind, water, and hockey players. That's it.
Well,
and then they put a long
listen.
laundry list of other stuff that they export as well.
Yeah. Well,
You know what we export?
but they have many more tariffs than people even know about.
Do you know what we export to them?
And they make a lot of car parts for us, but they tariff the cars that use those parts.
You know what the biggest thing that we export? Our debt, our IOUs. And even though we might say, well, that's not the manufacturing goods that we want to be able to sell to them, that is a big deal. And if we lose that and we're the ones that have to buy our debt, that's when we're screwed. We got to be honest.
Well,
we do send that all over the place.
If you have the right administration, debt goes away over time. If you have an administration that spends and spends and spends, like maybe $1 trillion on phony projects, which are nothing more than money laundering, the debt's never going to go away. I think if they get their hands around $1 trillion, the debt will start to come down. It's a huge effort, and is it a little pain? Well, it depends on how many countries want reciprocal tariffs. If they're able to work out a deal with, okay, your tariffs, you put tariffs on our cars equal to this, and all we're asking is a little free market travel in automobiles.
Fairness.
Or we're going to place the same tariff on your car.
I understand the fairness. I understand the reciprocity. We need to be careful. Largest, freest border with them. And yes, I know they need to shut down the fentanyl, but I don't want to bludgeon them with a tariff stick.
Just keep in mind, my point of view is based on Justin Trudeau's Canada. Okay,
I hate that.
And
We're on the same page
and
there.
We haven't seen many changes yet.
Yeah.
And I expect we'll see a lot more common sense coming out of Canada. But I'm assuming that if they don't get this worked out and exactly what the tariffs are going to be, and whether or not they'll allow free trade with Canada, because we do have a free trade agreement, but it's anything but free trade.
Wasn't Trump the one who put that together? USMCA. That was it. USMCA.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. So Trump, I do think he's using it very shrewdly, but I don't want him to bite off more than he can chew. And I really think sometimes he goes too far and has to back off.
Obviously, the talking goes too far, but it always produces results. And the results are always going to benefit this country. I am a big fan of Canada. We love going there every year.
I know you do.
Even though they're, of all the Grand Prix of the world, they're probably the worst at handling people. There's never enough room on the metros. They can add 10 trains, and it's never enough. But it's a beautiful country.
I know you go up there quite a bit, and somebody said something in the comments. They said Tim better watch it when he comes up here. I'm like, guys, maybe you shouldn't drive a Tesla up there. But
you're absolutely right. By the way,
what?
Yeah, I'm going to be very careful when we go up there next time. Always had a lot of fun. I love going to Canada, but there have been a lot of restrictions since COVID that haven't all been lifted. And I think that Justin Trudeau was about control, and they don't need that much control. Right. Plus, I always meet people from the Western provinces, and I was talking with one guy. I thought he was from the United States, and I said, "Boy, this is a big change to what it was 2 years ago." I mean, they were actually nasty to us 2 years ago. Everywhere you went, you order a cup of coffee, they act like they don't understand what you're saying and give you, the opposite. And he said, "Oh yeah, they treat us worse." And I said, "Where are you from?" He said, "British Columbia." So it's not a war between Montreal and the rest of Canada, but there's tension.
How do you feel about Mexico?
I lived in Mexico many years ago for quite a while, and just in what I've seen since I was there, which was back in the late 60s, Mexico has made a tremendous developmental progress. Everything has improved more than any country I've ever seen. And I mean, their cities are clean and large. They still have barrios outside the cities. And eventually they'll get around to that. We actually have pretty good relations with Mexico. And I think the latest president is, I think she's forward thinking, but she's got to be careful. They have a contingent of who that is very effective at getting their way.
Absolutely. All right. My question before we wrap this up, is will the stock market and the banking sector allow the Fed to wait until June to cut? Or are we going to see market temper tantrum? The expectation is 0.25%. 62% think a quarter rate cut is likely. Do you really think we can wait that long? Or do you think markets and banks are struggling right now? Banks are in deep, deep trouble. Can we keep going like this without any actions?
Well, the banks will survive as long as they keep stealing from their depositors. Yeah, I have a little bit of experience with that. And I hate to pick on the bank that I'm with, but I've made it known that I'm losing money every time they hold one of my checks. And
They're not charging you for the cash anymore, right?
I haven't
Deposits?
put that money. The bar has now been lowered to $20,000, and I haven't paid one yet.
Okay, but holding checks, that's
Holding
becoming
checks,
a
yeah,
real
if they're a
problem?
big check. I had a $250,000 check that they held. I had a $116,000 check that they held.
These are customers
then
buying gold and silver.
Buying gold and silver. And when I give them a quote, they expect to get that quote. What happened with those two checks is gold went up $130 in the meantime, and I ended up losing $16,000. I made that known to everybody I met in the bank, and I told them how disheartened I am that they would continue to do this. Nobody on the ground at all the branches that I go to has found a solution to that. It's that's something that came from the higher ups, and nobody seems to be able to break through to the algorithm or whatever it is.
Wow.
But after those two, which cost me big money, the next one they held was $30,000. And the next one after that, and I had a long discussion with this woman, I think when you were there today, was $24,000. So if we're now down to the $20,000 bracket where they decide to hold checks. Now, what are they not holding? Bank checks and money orders, because those are already paid for. They would if they could get away with it.
They don't want you to get your money. They
No,
won't
and
allow to it.
I've explained to everybody, if somebody orders a dozen gold coins, and that money is not on my account, I have to be cautious because, how do I know that there's some reason why they held that check? They claim there is a good reason, but there's never a good reason. So what I've done is I've moved more money into that account, and so I'll place the order. As soon as the person tells me, yes, that cleared my account, then I'm placing the order, which usually takes less than 24 hours, by the way. But they hold the check for a week.
That's
a 7-day week.
That's really tough.
It is tough.
That
It's
is
ridiculous.
tough. Yep.